Welcome to Leaders in Action. I'm Robin Tremingham of the Olderhood Group, and my guests today are Olderhood CEO Bill Story, and I'm also delighted to welcome Michael J. Solomon, who may look very familiar to everyone. He is the former president of Warner Brothers International Television. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Well, it's great to chat with you today, Michael. You've had such an illustrious career. We can't get it all into 10 minutes, but I thought maybe during this first segment, we could chat about how the television industry has evolved, if you will, during your watch.
Well, I'm kind of the poster boy for television. When I say television, I've been focusing on a particular segment of television because television is such an expansive definition. What is television? So rather than trying to define television, I will tell you what I focused on and what I have been focusing on for pretty much my whole career, and that is distribution. Because there's an old saying that I made up, and I'm old, so that's why I could say it's an old saying, that content is king, which I'm sure most people have heard of, but distribution is emperor, which means that you could have the greatest content in the world, but if you don't have good distribution, the content means nothing.
Yeah, somebody has to be watching, don't they?
Has to be watching, and of course you have to generate revenue on the content, and the only way you could do that is by distributing, because remember, whatever you generate revenue-wise pays for the production and pays for all the expenses of running a production company and a distribution company. So distribution is king. Distribution is key, rather.
Do you think,
that it is key?
I mean, do you think that the distribution methodology, back when you were, more in the television, scene, do you think it's changed? We've got the internet and stuff like that. Has distribution improved? Is it easier now to distribute?
Well, of course it's easier because of technology. It used to be that we used to send out cassettes to potential clients for them to screen. And if they liked it, they would write us, oh, this is great. How many episodes do you have? How much, what's the license fee? How long can I keep it, etc. Today, everything is done by the internet. So, I traveled, I've been in the business since 1956, which is a pretty long time. And I'm only 46, which really confuses most people. But in any event.
But that's the magic of television, isn't it?
Right. I started out loading films on trucks for United Artists, going to New York University at night. And they sent me to Central America to open up the Central American territory for American films. And that was in 1960, and I was just turning 21. So I lived in Panama, and I traveled to Guatemala, Nicaragua, Honduras, Salvador, Costa Rica, and Panama. Then they sent me to Bogota, Colombia, and I traveled around Colombia, opening that territory for about a year. And then I was made manager of Peru and Bolivia when I was 24, and I lived in Lima for 2 years. And then I was hired by another company called MCA, which is now owned by Comcast and NBC, which at that time was the largest, and they hired me to start their Latin American television division. So I started distributing really American content, first movies and then television in 1960. So that's how long I've been in the business. And the point I wanted to make was in those days, I traveled really literally around the world, 60%, 70% of my life. And I did that for 40 years. And I opened up territories such as China, Russia, Scandinavia, Latin America, of course, and India to American content. So before I got involved, the public in those countries essentially were watching their own homegrown content. So I have a long history of presenting American content to Europe and Asia, and Latin America, Africa, Middle East, etc. So the word distribution, I'm kind of like the poster boy for distribution. I remember one day when I was in Honduras, I had to get from one town to another, and it was raining and the roads were dirt, and I had my cans of film and I couldn't get from one town to another. And I was tired of being in this one small town for 3 days. So what I did was I bought a donkey and took that donkey with my cans of film, and I went from one town to another on the dirt road. But that's not the end of the story. The real great thing about the story is when I reached the next town, I actually sold the donkey for a profit.
Oh, I love it.
Probably one of the great sales I've ever made over the years.
So I'm sure everybody's told you this should be a movie.
Yes, everybody has said that. I've had many, many adventures, believe me.
Did you have one particular thing, and I think it's an impossible question, but did you have one particular thing in either on the production side or the distribution, etc., that you felt was perhaps your biggest achievement? Was there one thing that sticks out in your mind?
Oh, there have been so many, Bill, over a 60-year career in that area. And being a pioneer, I think that the greatest thing that ever happened to me was timing. And the fact that I was in the right place at the right time in the beginning of television worldwide. And I took advantage of the opportunity. And I think that's the greatest thing that ever happened to me, that I believe that rather than talking about, oh, this incident or that incident, I'd like to take a look on the overall picture and saying that I was in the right place at the right time and I took advantage of the opportunity. So that to me is the best thing. I could tell you stories that happened to me in Europe and Asia and Latin America, but maybe we'll tell that to you privately over a beer.
That sounds good. You're still having quite a journey.
I'm 82 years young and I'm still extremely active. I'm blessed with a lot of energy and I'm in good shape, and I take advantage of all of the relationships that I've established over the years. And rather than being stuck in what happened years ago, with a lot of people don't change, I change with the times.
Yeah, that's.
So I'm very involved with streaming. I'm very involved with creating my own streaming companies. You're part of one of them that I established, which is called Truly. And but I'm still in distribution. I also own a consulting company, and I help companies get established. I do financial plans. I have a whole team of people. I have 4 offices in Europe, and anybody who wants to be in the business and it makes sense, we're there to help them in many, many different ways, mergers, acquisitions, etc. So I'm involved in a lot of different industries now, which I really enjoy, having been in the distribution and the content business for 60 years. So now I'm being educated in other forms of industry.
Well, it sounds like maybe we should have more than one beer with you.
Okay. So
we're just about out of time here. Very quickly, what's your key piece of advice for anybody getting into the industry these days?
That's a good question. My advice is that you cannot survive if you have a small company. You can only survive today if you have a big company. So I'm very involved with a company that is very well financed, that is in every form of the entertainment business with television. So they've come to me and say, you're the king. How do we get into television where it makes sense? So my advice to them is just what I said. You have to have a big company. How do you have a big company? Well, you have to be well financed. And the best thing to do is not to compete with Netflix and not to compete with Amazon, because you'll lose. The best thing to do is there are plenty of streaming companies all over the world, are not Netflix and not Amazon, and looking for really good quality programming, and that's what I do. I consolidate really good programming in all different languages. It used to be that there was only English. Now the Americans are very accustomed to seeing really good quality programming in Spanish and in Swedish and in Turkish. My wife and I saw a soap opera in Turkish the other day, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, four seasons of 10 episodes each, and we were enamored by it. Now, little did I think that a couple of years ago I would enjoy a series of
Yeah,
Turks.
cool.
Well,
Thank you.
there's so much I want to ask you, but it's going to have to wait for the next segment because we're all out of time. You've been watching Leaders in Action. Join us again soon.